are now living shorter, not longer lives. Our economics correspondent reports in the latest installment of Making Sense.
Maysville, Kentucky, in the northeast corner of the state, just a short bridge away from Ohio. Despite some merchants' best efforts at cosmopolitan outreach, the downtown is struggling. But at one local establishment, business is brisk and growing.
This is a Batesville 20 gauge steel protector.
This one is Churchill Blue.
Churchill Blue. We can get this in a misty rose for the ladies.
David Lawrence manages the Knox & Brothers Funeral Home, is also the county coroner. He's been seeing a lot of dead white males of late, especially ages 45 to 54.
A lot of it due to alcohol or drug abuse.
There has been a Denham practicing medicine.
Craig Denham wears multiple hats too.
This small bag is my grandfather's medical kit.
A fifth-generation Kentucky family physician.
My great-great-grandfather's.
He's also medical director for the fire department's emergency service.
In the past 2.5 years, we've had about a 300% increase in the drug-related overdose ambulance runs, and the prevalence of opiate addiction in this area continues to increase.
He's like, Mom, it's nothing that you did. It's me.
Becky Manning's son got hooked on drugs. Fortunately, he's still alive.
Almost 40 now.
But she blames the drugs in part for her husband's suicide.
He just carried this tremendous guilt for everything, for our son doing drugs. Then he started getting depressed, and then my husband took his own life.
How did he do it?
He blew his head off. Yeah, I came home to that.
Best friend Marcy Connor's husband also killed himself.
He developed alcoholism very young in life.
An addiction he shared with lifelong friends.
One died with a heart attack, but drug use and alcohol use all the way through his life. Another one died of cancer, drank up to the very end. And my husband actually had a G-tube in, or feeding tube in, and poured alcohol down his feeding tube until he died. Alcohol poisoning. Mm-hmm.
These cases fit a disturbing national pattern. Though U.S. life expectancy has been going up steadily over the last century, there's now been a sudden and dramatic reversal for just one demographic.
White non-Hispanics in America in middle age are dying in large numbers.
That was certainly a huge surprise to me.
Economists Angus Deaton and Ann Case, who are married, published their finding just after Deaton won the 2015 Nobel Prize in Economics.
Professor Angus Deaton.
The paper showed that starting in 1999, the death rate of middle-aged white Americans has been going up instead of down.
We thought we must have made an error. The whole world is getting better. This middle age group is the one that's benefited most, at least since 1970, from advances in the treatment of heart disease, from people quitting smoking, all of those things. And then suddenly for this trend that's going down, just to reverse out, seemed like it had to be wrong, but it was not wrong.
The big increase was in what Case calls deaths of despair, alcohol-related liver disease, suicide, drug overdose.
People kill themselves slowly with alcohol or drugs, or quickly with a gun. For people aged 50 to 55, for example, those rates went from 40 per 100,000 to 80 per 100,000 since the turn of the century. And it's people with a high school degree or less who are killing themselves in these ways in large numbers. That's the group that's getting hammered.
And now the CDC is paying more attention to that age group and demographic.
Ellen Kumler, a public health doctor for Mason County, Kentucky, says the latest data from the Centers for Disease Control pick up where the Case Deaton study leaves off.
When we look at the suicide rate, when we would look at unintentional injuries, a lot possibly related to substance abuse, as well as liver disease, the rates of those issues have actually increased.
Marcy Connor is a nurse specializing in substance abuse who has experienced deaths of despair time and again in her own family.
I had a brother that committed suicide also.
And two cousins, one of them a nurse.
And he started telling me that his depression medication wasn't working as well, and pain medication wasn't working as well. And he lost his temper at work one night and got fired.
Got fired.
They found him hanging in his garage.
And the other cousin?
She overdosed.
And why so much drug use and abuse? And Case and Angus Deaton found something else in their study.
Since at least the mid-1990s, people's reports of pain, of sciatic pain, of neck pain, of lower back pain, year on year have increased.
Our best, strongest pain medicines are the opioids.
The mid-90s was also when the opioid painkiller OxyContin was approved by the FDA and began to be marketed aggressively to doctors.
They do not have serious medical side effects, and so these drugs, which I repeat are our best, strongest pain medications, should be used much more than they are for patients in pain.
Within 5 years, the drug's maker, Purdue Pharma, was earning $1 billion a year profit on OxyContin, which soon rose to $3 billion. As for the lack of serious side effects, well, it did have one.
It's basically heroin in a pill with a FDA label on the front. So people get addicted to this.
I started on oxycodone or Oxycontin in high school.
Elizabeth Easton is now in recovery.
I unleashed something horrid in me many years ago from doing one pill. I went from taking them to snorting them to, injecting, which is really, really horrid.
Because you gotta have it.
You have to. It's the only thing that makes you feel normal.
Yes, makes you feel normal.
Controls your life. You're a different.
Now I have a great deal of pain from all the bones and things I broke in my younger years. When you do things like that, they come and get you. But I never took anything stronger than an aspirin, because early in my life I learned how to meditate, and I basically would meditate like every morning. I mean, one of the things about getting really sick, you can have this choice. You can either die by the hands of the doctors, or you can take control of your own life. And, and prayer and meditation are truly amazing, because it kind of quiets, not kind of quiet, it does quiet the squirrel in your brain. And the squirrel, oh, I'm so in pain. Take that pill. Take that pill. I need to get high. And I was very lucky in my younger years in that I never liked drugs. I worked as the disco king and worked in theater in New York City. So I was around in the music industry, and I was around that stuff all the time. And my employers, the producers, actually really appreciated the fact that I didn't do drugs, because most of their employees were going after those people's stash, so I couldn't care. And we would be out and about to clubs and such, after everyone got totally stoned and were, incomprehensible. And even the chauffeur of the limousine couldn't drive. I'd be the one sober person who could drive around. And pretty much my whole life, I was never a big fan. Cocaine I couldn't stand. I did morphine once, in a medical thing, and don't you want more? I said, no, I can take care of this. But it's a lot of pain. No. They wanted to cut my legs off, and I didn't go for it, and I put the clamps on, and then walked with the walker, and then, oh, now we really need to cut your legs off now because they're atrophying. Okay, take the clamps off. Well, it's going to be a lot of pain. How are you going to? Well, we'll have to give you a morphine pump and OxyContin. And I said, no. How are you going to deal with that? I said, I'll meditate. And that's what brought me back to my aesthetic meditation, being in that process, doing it every day, 5-10 times a day, which enabled me to go further and, realize a number of things that were going on in the world, And that's why I brought out Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, right? To be a bar walk against this corporate getting everyone stoned. Drugs are the largest off book capital for the hidden hand. Let's see. What's the other thing I wanted to watch for you guys? Boop, boop, boom. YouTube is so much fun. Boom, 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 boom.
I'm a heat seeker, I'm a game changer. Making my moves now, pushing that fade out. I'm a heat seeker.
Death penalty in Asgardia. Hey, there's a few attract.
Constitution of Asgardia, and to be the guarantor of its observance.
All right, I first heard about this one a few weeks ago on the Truth is Stranger Than Fiction channel. Asgardia Rising, the new space kingdom.
Asgardia is a united supranational space state open to all people on Earth. Asgardia will possess a space fleet to defend humanity and planet Earth from threats emanating from outer space. It will open its embassies on all continents. We are not the best, but we are the future. I hug each and every one of you. One humanity, one unity.
First, when I saw the whole ridiculousness of this and taking this new made-up ad hoc nation seriously, I thought I was going to make a bunch of jokes about Asgardians, but then I realized this is not a joke. This is very, very serious.
The solemn oath of the head of the first space nation is sworn to the head of parliament, Mr. Lambic Opic.
Today, as I accede to the position as the head of nation of the space kingdom of Asgardia, I solemnly swear to be faithful to the spirit and the letter of the Constitution of Asgardia and to be the guarantor of its observance.
The head of justice lays the sign of the head of nation on the shoulders of Igor Ashurbeili.
You can't even put the necklace on right. This is a quote-unquote space kingdom. It's the world's first official space nation, and they've been endorsed by the ISS, who put on a whole display.
Yeah. You can watch. Okay. So
they have written.
You can watch YouTube yourself, right? So, what do you guys think? Of all this stuff going on. How does it affect your life? What's going on today? Last few days was really beautiful around here, so I have stayed up here at the school. I'm all by myself. I'm enjoying the beauty of spring coming out. And yesterday, if you watch yesterday's day thing, show, I spent it with the dogs, and we just sat in the sun, and it was a beautiful day. Today it was a little cloudy. I had chores to do, so I went down and saw people. And I saw this one friend, and she's really smart, really beautiful, really nice person. She's, got 3 kids, and, she's got a hard life. And, I'm one person that would sit there and listen and process it and say, hey, what about this? And my basic thing to her was, hey, you're at a point in your life where you really, your kids, they're like, not quite teenagers, but they're almost. And in a few years, they won't be kids anymore. They're going to be out there, and she's already, their personalities are coming up, and a lot of parents have issues with their children. And I said, you can do one or two things. You can get angry. You can have, drag out fights with them, or you can realize that, you're just their parent, and the only thing you can do, you don't own them, can't tell them what to do. The only thing you can do is your best. Keep them away from the chainsaws and lead by a good example. You're trying your best. You got a job. You're taking care of yourself and them, and you're doing your best. Speak to your kids as human beings, not as little people. And and say, okay, you're growing up. You're seeing things. You're understanding things, or you're not understanding things. Come to me, we talk. I'm not going to blame you for anything. I'm not going to yell at you. Let's try and be, we're in a family, so let's be a family, and let's support each other, and let's care about each other, and not get upset with each other. And so she kind of said, yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's so tough. I said, you got to let it go. But it's so tough. And I said, you got to visualize that your children are like leaves on a stream, and they float by. And the best thing you can do is see how beautiful that is and let it float by. Because if you try and jump in the stream, all you're going to do is get covered in mud and totally wet, maybe drown, freeze to death, and that leaf will just keep floating away, or you can just enjoy it, right? So let's hear from you guys, all 0 of you. Hear from you. Guess those days are over. No, they're not over. Last night was a good chat. 17 minutes. No, I kind of put those things up front just to, those folks spend a lot of effort, have a lot of resources, bring forth stuff that, and discuss it in a certain way that I, A, appreciate, B, they do better than I do. And, in 2 or 3 minutes, they can say a whole bunch of stuff that would take me 20 minutes, So anyway, and, a live chat is a live chat. I could just put this on whatever they call it, where it's just the video. And, but, the live chat is, hearing you guys. What time is it anyway? Oh, it's almost 10 p.m. Well, it's 9:40, and, I'll just kind of sit here and, go on and see if anyone wants to have a conversation. So my observation of, I keep saying we're in this window of opportunity, the next 18 months, and this summer will be very important. This will be half of that 18 months, right? So, and 18 months kind of started in February. So, February to February, that's 12 months. And then March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So around September, not this coming September, but a year from this coming September, it will be like that 18-month period. And something within this, 18-month period, that's the most trepidous, most opportunity for something really positive to happen, or another red flag. We're at war. We're at war in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Syria and Yemen and a ton of places in Africa and Central America. Why do you think all Central Americans and South Americans are trying to get the heck out and come up here? It's because all of the violence that we started, back in the Iran-Contra days of the, George H. Bush and Ronnie administration, Rhonda, how you doing, Rhonda? So Rhonda, you kind of come in, here we are, 20 minutes. Do you go back and watch any of these shows from the start to get their whole context? And if you have you watched the fact that I kind of use, because now that I was forced to stop just doing everything on this guy, I kind of use it like this and play YouTubes on my channel about subject matter. Like we started off today with a YouTube on that white men in America, medicine is getting better. People stop smoking, heart, all the things that were killing us in the, the 20th century, latter 20th century, early 20th century. The statistics are getting better, and white folk are, because see, white folk don't realize that, race has always been a smokescreen for class, right? So, and white males, who get a college education and, make more than 70 grand a year, they're living in right now, a time where they rule, and that, 1/10 of that 1%, I'll just put it in that point, that 1%, own more, have more assets, than the bottom 0 to 60% of the American population. 1%, right? The schism of finances in this country, or the wider they have been, they're like what it was in the French Revolution time, Louis' time. There were all of the expendables, the riffraff, and the elite. And the elite, we were talking about things last night, and I said, guys, go watch this movie called Zardos. It was made in the 70s with Sean Connery. And he made about 5 movies when he quit making the 007 things, because he didn't want to get typecast. And Time Bandits, this one called Everything You Think You Know Is Wrong. A whole bunch of things that were done in the 70s about things that are happening now. And the one about Everything You Think You Know Is Wrong is truly amazing because it was exactly 9/11, right? And, anyone who just has an open mind sees that the statement of what, the media puts out, what our society says is, this is what's going on. It's totally full of crap. It's what's going, the change of weather on our earth, especially in the United States, the fires in California, the hurricanes, the floods, what's going on in the Midwest. They had these tremendous floods, and then they have 40 inches of snow. That's happening right now. And they're going to have more floods, and then they'll have more snow. This is like, and it's global warming from carbon. No, sorry. It's a bunch of other things. And I'm not saying that they're not man-made, but those fires in California, the way they, incinerated, homes and cars and left the front lawn and the trees fine, And, the bushes were still untouched, and thousands of homes were burnt. And I have a friend who's a medical examiner in that neck of the woods, right? And he says it's really strange because when those fires were going, they weren't quite in that zone, but they were being readied because they were trained to, go in with the cadaver dogs and find the bodies. And because in California, they're kind of getting ready for the big earthquakes. And so, they're not even close. No one's prepared for the kind of things that are going to show up. And, but most of them are coming from this, what would be called breakaway civilization. And then I kind of showed you that little video of these guys making, a new country, space country, and that's the breakaway civilization. These are all kind of dots, what I'm good at is looking at all the dots. So, I want to know what you guys think, because the cadre really, we are a group that has a potential to have a positive effect. When we go into state, I bring you, when you come on the channel, I kind of, tune this this program shamanically before I start. And, I bring it forth to you. Now on YouTube, there's a ton of people, now that, that I do a thing in my inbox, I got a ton of stuff to look at there. If you go onto my playlist, go onto that and look at that stuff. I only put, a few minutes. I don't do this whole show off of my phone onto this. No, it's I show things that I want to talk about. And one is, so white men are offing themselves in great numbers, right? That's going against, people are living longer here. White men of 40 to 60 are offering themselves in tremendous number. Another suicide thing that no one's talking about. I saw a guy in the supermarket today. I had, someone took me out to lunch and gave me a few dollars so I could buy food because I get my, few dollars of food stamps, the middle of the month, which is a good and bad thing. There's sides on either that I don't have any money, so I don't need anything. Well, then I lose weight and that's all good. But anyway, I was at the supermarket and I'm waiting to go in there. And there's this guy and he's not looking very good. And I said, buddy, how you doing? And, not so good. And he's, his whole cart is beer, And so I kind of look at that. I don't say anything. I don't want to embarrass him or make him upset. Anyway, I said, so where'd you serve? And he goes, oh, I was in Iraq. I was Kandahar. And I kind of, and I said, so how you doing? He goes, not too good. So when you came back, how'd you do? Not too good. He says, I was, deployed 10 times. And I was in the National Guard. And I was away so long, I lost my wife, my house, my kids, my job. And when I came back, I was unfit to deal with human beings. And, he said, I have to self-medicate, right? And I said, and then so we kind of, went out and I was in my little motorized go-kart shopping cart there. We went outside and they have a little park bench out there. So I'm sitting in my golf cart and he was sitting on the park bench and he smokes. And, so I kind of put a little shamanic bubble over us so no one would get too upset, or notice, these aren't the droids you're looking for. And so we talked, and he said that virtually every one of his friends that he served with either died in country or has committed suicide. And he said that he hasn't committed suicide because he doesn't own a gun. So if he had a gun, right? So the statistics of that, there's about 32 or 3,000 people who die in the United States from a gun, right? And 30,000 of them are suicides. I mean, they leave a note and put the gun in their mouth and blow the back of their head off, right? Because it's quick, it's easy, it's done. Try it any other way, you may not do it. And more of our soldiers, our heroes who went off to protect us, have committed suicide since 2003 that have died in Vietnam, right? And it's a statistic that's just a number that no one even cares, no one talks about it, no one talks about a lot of things, and I'm seeing that YouTube is silencing people, and within the government, this whole Donnie thing, and the left, the right, whatever, they're coming to in the next few months, you will see that there will be laws passed that if you don't go along with what the state says it was, that will be a crime. You look at 1984, and they had the Ministry of Truth, and we already have that. It's called Fox News, and so it's nothing that you can see because it's all coming from the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be, and they don't advertise themselves. The closest you can see are things like the Bilderberg or the UN or entities like that, and they are the entities that are manifesting the civilization. Like in Saudi Arabia, they're building a smart city, and it's truly amazing. Again, I go on my playlist, and the guys at Truth Media, what are those guys called? Oh yes, there it is. True Stream Media, right? Go to them, and they have this thing on. Let's see. I won't play it for you because you don't want to see it, but I'll find it for you and tell you what it is. It is on my playlist, and pretty much the weakest argument against, and that one's against, conspiracy theories. Go watch that one because they really give the 411, right? Lights Out Coming, and that's this guy named Marfugel. He's like a news show, and he's a bit fear porn, but he's got a lot of good information. I like him. His energy is pretty good. Forcing a total saturated 5G future. That's another Truth Stream. That's really good one. Let's see. This is how they will justify war. Anonymous bread. Anonymous BREAD. Right? That's pretty good. Jimmy Dore, my favorite. I love Jimmy. How modern reality is being manufactured. That's another True Stream. It's official. We're living in a prequel to Blade Runner. Right? Fake news. These are all truthfulness, right? Privacy-less, freedom-less smart city. That's the one, right? And
I saw this in the World Economic Forum and I had to talk about it because it's such a clear indicator of the drastic shift in society. Not that we're facing in the future and generally down the road, but that is actually happening right now. It's actually taking place. And if you like your doctor and want to keep him, you're going to love this. So this was on WEFforum.org. That's the Davos site, Davos Elite. And it was written by Ida Auken, a member of parliament in Denmark. And I checked, and as far as I could find, she hasn't been to Bilderberg or anything like that. But again, she's a member of the Davos Elite.
We are 7 billion people now on the planet. We're going up to 9 billion. Think about 3 billion people entering the middle class, all wanting cars, mobile phones, computers, eating meat. I mean, this is a huge pressure on the resources we have.
But she would very much what I assume would be a Bernie Sanders style socialist. But she's also hoping that people in the near future will own
Nothing.
That's their big answer to income inequality. They've been talking about it at these conferences for years.
Yes, the rich will own everything. Everybody else own nothing. And we will have a guaranteed income of 25 cents. And we will be given this, that, and it will be given to us. This is what happened in Rome. You know, bread and circus. We already have that. Fast food and, you know, big screen TVs. But they will basically incarcerate us. I mean, that's what happens when people come out. You know, when I got really sick, and then the only way I could get any kind of health care is have nothing. And that's what exactly I have nothing, right? So you know, friends help me out. You know, I stay with here at the school. I'm just a guest. I don't stay here. You know, I'm here. I'm not here. I'm here. I'm not here. I'm out in the deep green when it gets warmish. That's like living in the national forest. Now that's great. I mean, I love it. That's my favorite thing. But you know, anyway, we're really kind of in a quandrum here, and no one seems to even notice the canary in the coal mine. You know, massive increases in. Let's see, in UFO sightings, more, you know, and I would say those sightings are more or less the red flag. You know, they're holograms. You know, the things that hit the buildings on 9/11. You know, I don't know. There, I went and tried to help people weeks after that, and I talked to lots of people who were there, firemen, policemen, you know, who were in the pit, who, you know, came over and visited us over in the basement of Trinity Church, oldest church in the United States, or one of them. And, you know, we had a clean environment. You know, I made sure that we had HEPA filters in the air they were breathing in that basement was clean, instead of, you know, the crap that they were breathing in Lower Manhattan. And virtually everyone who worked in the pit is dead. You know, everyone who was living downtown and didn't protect themselves is dead. Because you know, it's one of the first people who live in Tribeca. I helped name it Tribeca, Triangle Below Canal Street, you know. And, or at least because that name had been used many times, but, you know, we familiarized the media with it. Anyway, so, you know, again, we are at a very interesting time. And just like that friend I was talking today, and she's having problems with her kids. And I said, man, you can look at this as an opportunity, or you can like burn down and the bridge between you and your kids. And why'd you have them if you're gonna, like, you know, totally ostracize them? And, you know, so why'd we have this life, you know, unless we can learn to love? I mean, the only reason we're here is to learn to love, not to be you know, a merchant or a king of commerce, or grab all the toys, you know. No, you know, it's to share what, you know, what little we had. So I have no money, you know. So I took my friend out for a cup of coffee because she's obviously needed to talk to somebody. And, you know, I got her a banana split because she needed, you know, a little fat on her bones. She's you know, when she was a little more curvy of a girl. I mean, she's very attractive, and she's a person who, weight looks good on her. Not that much, and she's really, I mean, today people say, "Oh, that's how you should look," well, because she looks like a magazine model. She really does. She's very attractive, and she's in her 30s now. And back when she was in her, or very early 30s or late 20s, but she's got 3 kids, and one's almost a teenager, heading towards that teenagehood, and and she's and so she lives in a small apartment with 3 kids. Of course, it's going to be instead of slowing down and using. Why do we have children? Not to live vicariously through them, but to learn from them. Children are your best teacher because they see things in a fresh, clear way. Hologram don't give off a living vibe. Those with eyes, yeah, no. But I was talking about the airplanes that flew into the buildings. There's a good chance that they were holograms. I don't know. I don't prescribe, conspiracy theories. I don't know. What do I always say? Hi, I'm your Sensei Al Bob, and I know nothing. Don't believe anything I say. This isn't a cult or a religion, or a political party. No, this is a entertainment show, a show to entertain, right? And we have a nice little community, the cadre, and this live chat is quite nice because what I like about it is a wrench-free environment. Everyone here is really different, and we care about each other, and we don't care that they're not in our tribe. I mean, we're not a tribe; we're a chorus in the live chat, anyway. And viewers on the channel, they're the cadre. They're not, the tribe. It's not us against them. It's like all our relations, right? Stacy, I'm noticing massive increases in alien UFO sightings. More fairy folk being seen. Again, these are, they've always been there. The aliens have always been there. The fairy folk have always been there. If they are getting more and more observation, it's that people, when people see stuff, like the interesting thing, string theory, right? The parallel universe theory. So you're looking at something, right? And you see things on your peripheral vision when you go like that, see what is this going? But that little thing that you see on your peripheral vision, those fairies, those UFOs, those whatever, they are dimensional, right? And they're just right there. They've got 1 foot. It's like when you have deja vu, you have 1 foot in one dimension, 1 foot in the other, and somebody throws a switch and, one leg goes on that track and one leg goes on that one. And instead of splitting in half, it's like a rubber band and bingo, you snap to either one. And that's that, you either keep going on the track you were on, or you're now on a new one that's very much like the old one, but it's a new one. And this is something that has been part of our existence from the beginning. But the powers that be, the sheriff, the king, the pope, the church, the Monsignor, right? They would tell you what to believe, right? And would give you that, oh, it was that piece of meat you had. It's a bad dream. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But hey, throw a couple more coins on the plate, Business opportunity. And now, through experience, humans all around are starting to go, all these priests have been trying to get in my butt. Everyone's a crook. Every politician, it's like they take the money and they don't, It's like I was in Sweden and they had this, they had the Green Party and they had, the Christian Democrats, right? And the Christian Democrats, pretty much ran the country and gave everyone, their house, their vacation, their food allotment, education, made the nice little world that the Swedes would believe in and just do what they said, right? And then, the corporations kind of expanded their wanting to do this, that, and the other thing. And one of the things was they, A, wanted to build a nuclear reactor. B, they wanted to use Agent Orange to spray the whole freaking country to kill the birch trees, so the pine trees, which they made money on, would grow up, right? And the birch tree was like their national branch. They took their saunas and beat themselves with birch branches. Anyway, so that's like, what? That's like, going against something deep-seated in their psyche. Anyway, so they had basically a political thing on that, the Green Party and right. And so the Christian Democrats, the Christian Democrats, were basically socialists. But they were calling the Green Party communists and, tree huggers and all of this kind of hippies and all of that, right? And so they had a debate on Swedish TV. And the old guy who is like, he wasn't the guy who was running for their premier, but he was the guy who was head of their party. And he said, I'm going to show you how, you don't have to worry about this Agent Orange stuff. There's nothing about it. It's not going to kill you. It's, they used it in Vietnam and it's safe. This is in the 70s, right? Anyway, and I'm going to show you. And so he had a picture of this orange stuff, and it's probably Kool-Aid, and he poured it into a glass. And Sweden had, television just from 6 p.m. till midnight. And it was live, or a movie, of some Swedish. And the life of the ground slickle is, it was not like the kind of TV that there is today. Anyway, so this was live, right? This debate, not taped. Couldn't edit this. So the old guy goes, I'm showing you how safe this is. So he pours the orange stuff into a glass. He knocks it back. He puts the glass down. He goes, and then he keels over dead. Bad move. I'm sure it was cool. I'm sure he didn't drink Agent Orange, because Agent Orange doesn't kill you like that. It takes years and years and years. He had a heart attack, right? Oh, he had a heart attack. But it was so amazingly bad for, what they call the optics, because they were going to vote a couple of days from that. This was the last debate. Anyway, and the guy in the Green Party was like, see what we're telling you. And the Green Party was, and they never got more than, 2%, right? And they won they won everything, the House, everything. The whole government was the Green Party, right? So they had a, populist, go and stop that nuclear power plant and don't use the Agent Orange on our sacred birch trees. Well, what do you think these Green Party guys did? They took the money and they Agent Oranged the whole country, and they built a nuclear power plant, totally against what they said they were going to do, which is worse than the Christian Democrats, because at least they said, hey, we're going to do this, right? Don't worry about it, and you'll still get your check in the mail. And that's, I already knew this, but this was like, yep, say no more. And that's because the Swedish people were always asleep. They got their check. They didn't care, They had free health care. But, my wife and I who lived in Sweden for as long as we did, because we took airplane rides. They had this thing. You went down to Stockholm Airport. They gave everyone a vacation. It was another way to buy them off. They said it for mental health, because it's a country that half the year the sun never rose, and the other half it never set. So people talk about, dualities in personality. So the government said, well, we're going to give you all vacations, 2 weeks, anywhere you want to go. And we'll pay the hotel, the train, everything, right? Meals, the tours, everything, right? And those people, so people would sign up, and a good portion wouldn't go. They couldn't, they were like agoraphobic about not leaving their country. So there was a board up at the airport that if you were ready to just, go to that gate, get on the airplane, you could go. Paris, Istanbul, Africa. We went all over the friggin' world. And I did it by myself before my wife. And, it was great, right? But that was part of the Swedish government buying the folk off, right? And so the Swedish were totally unconscious. They were totally out of the loop of their own government. They thought, oh, we have we're the best, we're the smartest, we have the best country, we have the highest, blah, 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 blah. Nope. Bah, And you talk about people seeing flying saucers and strange things in the woods. Those guys had it in spades, right? Well, that was another reason I liked living there, because I lived in this little town right between Gothenburg and Stockholm called Forshuga. Little teeny town, beautiful big lake, gigantic forests, mountains off. It was just, and we stayed with a friend of mine, and he was a musician. He played the old folk songs, and nobody else. Everyone was listening to ABBA, and he was the only guy doing the folk song. So they were, he did very well. Anyway, so I see all of that in spades. Now, instead of just being in the background, it's like in the foreground, right? And so that's why people are seeing a lot more of whatever they're seeing. Because it's like my friend today, she's having a hard time with her life because she's allowing everything that happened to her in the past, take control of her life, and she's angry about it, so she's blaming this, that, and this, and all that. No, we don't blame that. I never, what is the hidden hand going to do? But what the hidden hand can do, we have to reach out to the hidden hand, and say, hey, listen, guys, you think you can just rebrand this? You think you can, have a 1984 or a Brave New World? You think that's going to be any better than what you've got now? Not really, And if you really want to, be leaders, don't be pirates, be leaders, lead by example, And one of these guys I heard on YouTube who was started Facebook, right? One of those guys. He's a really big billionaire, and he was on TED Talks or something like that, and he was going, "Yeah, we designed it. It's like crack cocaine, when you get that you have that little. We designed it so it gives you a little rush in one of your brain receptors, and that's how we got you hooked, right? And so he says, oh, I don't let my kids, have a smartphone. They don't really use the internet. And I have so much money, I own this island over there, and we've got our, bolts, our cave all stocked up. And I'm going to live to be 300 because I can afford good medicine. All of you folks are going to die. And we've designed it so you're going to die. And I'm going to be one of the uber elites that will be like a god. And he said that, I'm going to be a god. Now, if that isn't nuts, I don't know what is. Right? And he was a chip, be part of that, smart city. And, Steven Spielberg makes all these movies, and they are public programming tools. He made one a little time ago about, where everyone's wearing their goggles, and, it's like they're in a Pokemon universe. They're walking to their job and they're doing their job, but and robots are doing mostly everything. They're just kind of doing it because they need us to be that little ever-ready battery, right? Let's see. So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go back and read what you guys have to say here. And I'm going to say, so let's have a little discussion. Let's see. Okay, time to go. I can't watch YouTube myself. Hoping to hear from you. Okay, here I am you're hearing from me. I've begun a path of throwing everything I've been mainstream away and starting from scratch. Good, Stacy, that's good. Just the scratch you're starting from should be you. And not, oh, it's all about me. But no, how you can interact with all our relations, but from that you're that cell, that's co-creation. I can see our planet moving into a stage of enlightenment. Yes, the more, be that world of change that you want to see. And the more of us do that, the more the world's going to change. Esoteric Dragon, just check out subscriptions and playlists. Also, check my playlist. Okay, good. I'll go do that. And Esoteric Dragon, do me a favor. Drop a link of your site to on the Dude Awake 42. Because that's the easy. Bing, I'm right there, and then I can look at it and subscribe and do all that stuff. I'm noticing massive increase in I'm living with fairies now. Yep. That's I'm up here in the school by myself. They're all around. They're very nice. That's why I've been having really great dreams. I personally would love to hear your story about the Queen Crone. Okay, we can talk about her. Actually, maybe we'll, tonight's, where are we? We're not here an hour. We will do a guided meditation and go to her farm. Okay, how about that? I think that's a good idea. I'm sure the cadre is resilient and will overcome obstacles. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Flavored bleach. Let's see. Research channel. Hey, research. We should talk about sometimes. Yep. Ever hear of Project Genesis? Yes. Duality. Yep. So, Esoteric Dragon, why don't you tell us about Project Genesis? I would love to hear you tell us. Maybe sometime, Snook. Go to site soon. Dragon, do you still use Discord? Yeah, what is Discord? You guys said you set something up for Dreamy Dreamland there, and then I tried to get on, and they wouldn't let me in. They're like, your password for your, I'm pretty much. Let's see, soon, my brother. So towards the end of this month, I'm heading towards the Big Green. That's for sure. So many historical cover-ups. Yeah, pretty much our history is one big cover-up. Smithsonian admits to destroying dozens of giant skeletons. Yep. Still lives. Who still lives? Discord's server still lives. Just no one is there. So what is that? What does that do? What's the purpose of that? The Discord server. What does that do? And how do I go on it, and how do we use it? And that's why I would love if a crew, let's see, I set it up, the Discord, a while ago for your channel, but no one really showed up, unfortunately. Well, channel research, I will call you and you can explain it all to me, okay? I'll call you tomorrow, okay? What's a good time to call you? Tomorrow is my kind of leisure day. It's going to rain. Then I'm going to go to the movies. Oops, I set one up too. Well, that's good. I'll call you Twitch. You can tell me what it is too. The more the merrier, let's just see, let's use this stuff. Let's start to coordinate. We look up. Hey, it's possibly blah, blah, I just brought it up. I think it was Fish who made a whole list of videos and stuff. I'll reference chat. Yep. Okay. So, okay, look, there it is, 1 hour. So everybody want to go into state and go to the old Crohn's farm? You said you want to hear stories about it. You can go there. So I would say, why doesn't everyone kind of get comfy? Put yourself in a chair or lie down. Start to breathe that 20% in and that 30% out. You want to count from 1 to 3. And as I do, you're going to go into a deep state of relaxation. And 1, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. Your avatar is safe and secure. And your squirrel in your metal cage of your Rolodex mind is going to sleep. And 1, you're breathing in the prana. As you're breathing that 20% in, your lungs raise, your aorta become more sensitive to the prana and get energized and take that scalar energy swirling through your veins into every cell of your body, and you see that cell that you are splitting through mitosis, and you see the energy around that cell, the mitochondria, being illuminated by that prana and turned into, photonic light. And you illuminate your imaginary mirror, see it clearly, going deeper and deeper and deeper into a state of conscious relaxation. You're leaving your body, your avatar. You're seeing through your imaginary mirror where you have dream time, dream sleep, REM sleep, and you energize it with a photonic light and you shine it through your mirror and you illuminate your subconscious mind, and you see it is a library. You're walking into it. It's totally illuminated with photonic light. In front of you is the fireplace of the eternal flame. There's the seats for your guests. In front of that is your reading table, and behind that is your reading chair. You sit down, your librarian brings your Akashic record, and you open the book up. You put your right hand on the right empty page. You put your left hand on the left empty page, and you lean into your Akashic record, and you evacuate all of the anger, all of the fear, all of the anxiety, all of the self-doubt, all the hate, all the anger. Let it all go. And you're left with that beautiful presence that is yourself as love's co-creation. See it clearly. And you close the book and you feel light as a feather, and you are kind of going through your library over to your shortcut to your lodge, and right there at your shortcut is another shortcut that takes you straight to the old Crohn's farm, right? And you close your eyes and you feel that you're sitting in a moving chair, and the wind is blowing through your hair and the sun is shining on you, and you open your eyes and you look over, and there's old Crone, and she's in her red jumpsuit, and her red graying hair is tied behind her, and you're in her fire engine red XKE Jaguar, and you're flying up this road, the West Highway, and you're going up this road. It's like it's like a rocket, and you're shooting up. And as you look over at the crone, and she's just smiling and got her foot on my pedal, and you look past her, and there's a cliff, and there's the ocean, there's the West Coast, and you're pulling up this way up this mountain, and you're looking over there, and it's like you're in a rocket ship. You know, you're doing at least 60, 70 miles an hour going, flying up this road. And if anyone's coming down, it's going to be a problem, because this road is just wide enough for one vehicle. She's flying up that hill, and just take it in, and no fear, no anxiety. Just see that smile on that ageless face of the old crone, right? And you're going up, and you crest over, and you're on a mesa, a plain on top of a mountain, right? And you see up there, more mountains to go above, and over here a big forest and a lake, but that's still miles to go, and you're still shooting down this road. And on either side there are these meadows, cows and sheep and goats are just chewing on the grass, and you fly into this little hamlet, and they're all stone houses that could be 1,000 years old, and there's a pub, and she parks in front of the pub, and you go in, and the pub is to your left, big pub, and there's the bar right there, and windows behind it, and looking off into the sunny farmlands, right, and the mountains behind them. And over here is a little generally store, and against one wall there are all of these post boxes, right? And you follow her in, and she goes over to a table, and this old barkeep comes back, from the bar, comes over to her and goes, Grace. And that is the old crone's name, Grace. Grace, and she hasn't sat down yet, and he gives her a big hug, and she hugs him, and she introduces you to the bartender, who is Ralph, or Buzzy, or B. These are all his names. And she goes over to this nice table that just doesn't have wooden chairs. It's a kind of towards the fireplace, and there are these nice cushy lounge chairs with a table in front of it, like almost a coffee table. And we sit down at that, and there's enough chairs for everyone. And there's a fire burning, and it's a few cubes of coal that are burning, or peat, which is kind of processed, the bog that they squish tight to a hard block, and you can put a match to it, and it lights up, and it gives off a good chunk of heat. Two little, bricks of this stuff in the fireplace can heat you up because it radiates out, right? And it's glowing red, and he brings over a bottle of Paddy's Irish whiskey, and and this isn't normal. I mean, you don't see this everywhere in Ireland, but he has a big pitcher of beer, which is more almost like Germany, and small glasses, right? That you can put some patties in, drink that, pour some beer in, and that's how she likes to drink it. Not everyone drinks. Most people get a pint glass from the bar, but this is how she likes to drink. And he brings that out, and then he brings out a little tray of sandwiches. This really nice kind of, there's a name for it. It's like, dark bread, but it's kind of dusted with white flour. It's all whole grain, so it's very grainy. But it's like the best parts of both, of white bread and pumpernickel bread. Good crust, but still kind of gushy in the middle, and sandwiches made out of that with this really great mustard, horseradishy mustard, and there's a plate of cheese and meats, that you can put on there. And he brings out big bowls of soup, potato, carrot, onion soup with a lot of fennel and all the greens, parsley and all the kind of basil and all kind of chopped up, floating in there, and fresh, not come out of a jar, but fresh. And so we're sitting around and we got the bread, and she doesn't really make sandwiches. She just takes chunks of this, chunks of that, and kind of eats that, and dips the bread into the soup and eats that, and then drinks some patty, drinks some. And so she is telling, we're all getting comfy, and she's telling us a story. And she goes, and this reminds me of France during the First World War, when I was a ambulance driver. Right? And she starts to talk about the First World War, and that it was, why everyone went, and everyone, and especially in England, this was sold as the war to end all wars. We're going to go fight this war, and there won't be any more wars ever again. So people idealistically signed up, and then died the most horrible of deaths, right? And she, as a woman, wanted to serve, but they didn't, so the best she could do was be an ambulance driver. And she would drive into the worst of the worst areas of people getting blown up, and she and her crew would go out there and get the bodies, and they had these white smocks with the Red Cross, and the Germans didn't shoot them. They had nobility. And not only that, they would go out there into no man's land and get anybody who was alive and or a body and take them back to their station. And if they were German, they would take them back to the Germans, or if they were German and alive, they would fix them. Not say, oh, you're the enemy, let you die, scum. No, they would fix, they would give them the best, as good a medical service, because the Germans were doing the same thing over on their side, and that brought. So the soldiers had this camaraderie. It didn't matter whether you were French, English, German, Russian, American. They were experiencing all the same hell. And Christmas, they'd have a ceasefire, right, for 3 or 4 days. And after the second year, all of the soldiers would come out into the middle of the battlefield and share what little they had with each other, and danced with each other, and shared not just their food and their wine and their booze, but they shared love with each other, right? And so, after the armistice, so by the third year of doing this armistice, so it's the fourth year of the war, they came back and the soldiers decided, we're not going to fight, We'll come back to the trenches and we won't fight, period. I'm not going to shoot that guy. He's not going to shoot me, period. And so, they went back, they blew the whistle. Okay, we're going to, start. And the guys in the artillery wouldn't do it. The guys, on the lines wouldn't shoot the machine guns. And it was so bad that this was the year that the Russian Revolution had occurred. And that was manifested by the English. Trotsky and Lenin were both in Canadian jails. And the English told the Germans, hey, we're going to have this man of war, destroyer, going to pick these guys up and we're going to spirit them into Russia, so don't sink it. And we're going to give them $10 million in gold, and they will, have the Russian Revolution. And those guys just had the revolution in a number of cities, and they went and shot the Tsar's family, right? Killed the line. And World War I was really just a war between families, because the Russian, the Germans, the English were all cousins to it. Victoria, all her kids were married into all those things. So this was just a family row. Very similar to what my friend was talking about, her kids, right? And but it killed millions of people. 26 million people died in World War I. And then in 1917, just after the war ended, the Spanish flu went around the world in a year. And it was pretty much obviously a biological thing, because the Spanish flu, World War I killed 26 million people. Spanish flu killed almost 30 million, and did it in less than a year. And there were places like there were tribes of Eskimos in Alaska who never saw anybody. They were out there and they got the Spanish flu. How did they get it? There were people all usually a pathogen like that. Here's patient X, and it kind of they got on a boat. They went into the city. Those people got it. They went out, and within months, this was popping up everywhere, and it killed almost took maybe 6 years to kill 26 million in World War I. The Spanish flu did almost 30 in less than a year, right? And you can look at, again, you go parse history out. Don't read the book that McGraw-Hill gives you. Go read things like, Howard Zinn's American History. And what my little stroll of thought here is just what the old crone would say. This is how she talks. She was a griot. She would tell stories. So she was telling stories of World War I, and what she didn't really focus on the horrors, because she saw horrors, and but she talked about the heroism of love. And when she told me this story, and as she's telling you the story, have any of you seen the movie Wonder Woman? Right? And they are going to get that book, and so they have to go across the line into Germany, and so they go into France, and they go from Paris, and they kind of go, and all the people are streaming this way, just like they are out of Syria, and all the blown up people are being taken out, and they're going that way, right? And she's in her bathing suit with a coat over her, and they get right up the front lines, and the Germans, so you can't even get over before somebody tries to go over. Come on, man, let's go over, and the few that they got blown back, right? So she's just so pissed off at all of this, because she really hates Ares, the god of war. And so she just goes over, and she's got her little bing, 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 bing. I want you to visualize, if you've seen that movie or know that scene, which is the best scene of that movie, one of the best scenes, because there are a couple other really great ones too. But it really shows the power of intent and the nobility of women, way more than guys. The guys are like, ooh, she just goes over and says, fuck it. And once they see her go up there, and she's like, bing, and getting up towards that machine gun thing, and just she's doing her little gauntlets, and the bullets are going and hitting guys there, and it blows up the machine gun nest, which kept people from going over. They kind of just go over and blow through the German line, and then they find this little town. It's still the German line, but it's in France, and they find this poor little French town behind the German lines that the Germans have been, taking everything they had. And anyway, so the Germans got blown out of that town. So the people there are like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they rest one night there and find their humanity and their nobility, right? And that's one of the things about war is that, when I worked at the VA, the kids who were coming back from the Vietnam War, they were like trash, just like they are the kids who were coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria and all the other places where they're just trashed, right? And ignored basically, and they're so used and chewed up that their leadership, the Army, the Defense Department, whatever you want to call those guys, basically want them to break so they can then throw them away with a dishonorable discharge. I met this person a few years ago. We're waiting in a waiting room, and he was only in there because it was snowing outside and no place to go. And he had his full Army gear on, he has pack, and we were talking, and nobody wanted to talk to him because he had been there before, and he had no VA stuff because he got a dishonorable discharge. And he pulled out of his pack a box, and he had 3 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star with clusters, and a Silver Star, which is like almost, the Congressional Medal of Honor. And with each were letters of the amazing thing he did to save his fellows. And he had his dishonorable discharge. And what had happened, they got a pinhead, lieutenant who wanted to do something that was really stupid, would get everybody killed. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he got dishonorably discharged for saying that, to try and save his brothers and sisters' lives. And that's what's going on, right? All around us. That's what's going on in every day of the hidden hand. That's, from the sale of oxycodone in a pill form that the FDA says is okay. Yeah. And that's what the old crone would do. That was Australia is in a coma. No shit. So many things I'd love to chat with you about. Stacy, go to my the Dude Awake 42 channel and let's talk. If you're in America, you can give me your phone number. I'll call you up. A lot of the folk here have done that, and I talk to them on the phone. I talk, but I can chat on my Gmail account, right? The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Yep, that's it. .com if you want to get hold of Al. Yep, that's it. That's it right there. Dragon's got it. The Dude Awake. Dragon, drop me a thing there and I'll get back to you. And what's really sick? Since I had to do all the stuff to get this back together, once they said, hey, you can't be on your phone doing this, I must get 30 Gmails from YouTube about this. Oh, don't you want to do it this way? Don't you want that? Don't you? We got this new special way of doing it. Da 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 da. And I have to sift through that to get to your stuff. There's no way that I can, I can't say I don't want to receive these jerk offs, because I have to. They constantly change my Gmail way of looking at. So, to find you guys, sometimes I have to even look in spam. So anyway, I try every day my best to respond to everything. And some days, I get, pulled this way or that. Today was the day that I went down and did my errands. I didn't go to the library, so I didn't have the best of Wi-Fi. A couple of places I was in, I did. But there were 3 or 4 people I spent a few hours with talking to, because like the guy I saw in the supermarket, I sat there in front of the supermarket, I was in my go-kart and he was sitting on the park bench drinking beer, chain smoking cigarettes. And, I talked to him for a good 3 hours. And then my friend who I ran into, who's, having issues with their kids, I talked to her for about an hour. She had to run off and do stuff. and then I talked to another friend. Anyway, so that was what I did today. I talked to individuals who needed some to listen to, and then give them a little feedback. Yes, Dragon, you are the sweetheart that you are, Dragon. So, there we are in the pub, hearing stories of nobility and courage, and we are feeling them in our heart, right? And when she told me these stories, I used to cry all the time because I would, whenever the old crone told a story, I would feel it in my heart. That's why she was the old crone. She was more. I'm a griot. She's the old crone. That's like a griot on steroids. Anyway, so we have a beautiful lunch there. The sun is still up. Someone's playing their violin in the pub, and that's nice. As instead of hearing the radio, hearing somebody just play the violin is really nice. And we have a very nice meal and drink some beer and patties, get a little buzz, and we go out and get in the Jaguar and take off up the hill where we find go that way into the woods, deep into the woods. It gets darker and darker and darker. And this is one of the very few old woods left of Ireland that the Romans and the English didn't chop down for their navy. And so that's why there's big naval ports in Northern Ireland. That's where they built all of their imperial ships, wood and steel. And so we go through that forest and we pop out right by that lake on her farm, and we go around the lake and we go to her farmhouse. And we go in and we open the boot of the Jaguar and we bring in some provisions that she had gotten in Dublin, and we go into her farm. And it's still early afternoon. So we kind of powder, cleanse ourselves of, wash ourselves off of the road dust, and we go out to the barn and see the animals and kind of let them out into the paddock and put out some feed. And then we kind of walk over to the meadow and we pick up the blanket that's over the fence inside the barn, and we throw it down on the meadow, and we lie down on the blanket, and we look up at the clouds, and we start meditating, right? And we start projecting our chi from the ground up, and that's how you cloud bust, because lightning bolts don't come down from the sky, they go up into the sky. And when you take that energy, that photonic energy that you bring down from Father Sky, and you ground it into Mother Earth, that's what brings all life to Gaia. And so when you're lying on the meadow, you can take your chi and send it up into the sky, right? And you can, bring rain or stop rain or move the storm a little this way so it'll miss you. And that's how, they basically use HAARP and chemtrails to do the same thing, but they do it in a very artificial way. So there's a cost to it. When you do it within balance between Father Sky and Mother Earth, there is no cost. You're in balance, right? So we're practicing all our shamanic. When you're a shaman, you have a toolbox, right? And if you ever get involved with indigenous people, you will find that they all, no matter where they are, whether they're out there in the Amazon almost doesn't exist anymore, but the folk who used to live out in the woods there, they had their toolbox. And the Aborigines of Australia, they had their toolbox. They were really great. It was like when I used to walk about with the elders and find the sacred sites in the Nilkenbah so I could put them on a top map. So the government would say, well, we're going to make sure we don't dig this shit up. Well, of course they didn't. You know, where they found all that coal, where they're digging all this coal up. The reason why, you know, the barrier reefs are dead, you know, they're not dying, they're dead, is because of all of the coal that they dug out of the ground in Australia and all the other minerals and sent them over to China. China burns coal. Yes, it's totally turning their cities into death camps, but all of that coal comes back and falls down on the ocean around Australia. And that's what's been killing the barrier reefs, because they took all of that out of the earth, right? And then defiled it by turning it into a product that you buy at Walmart's, you know? And these were all the visions that in the later, you know, end 60s, early 70s, when I would be with the crone, these were the things she would show me. That these are, it's not like this is what's going to happen, this is what is happening, right? And, you know, the whole thing about transhumanism and AI and robots and all of that, it isn't what's happening. It is, I mean, it isn't what's going to happen. It is what's happening, right? And the way only way this can stop is by what we're doing right now, going into state and visualizing a better world. And so the old crone would show me this, and she wouldn't do it to like depress me. She would show me then, as we're on the blanket looking up those clouds, we would see all of this in the clouds. Then we would dissolve it with, you know, chi. And that's, you know, kind of what I'm trying to teach you guys how to do, you know. But you have to practice this. So all the times I would go and stay with her, you know, and I would stay with her, you know, I'd go to Ireland, not just go visit for the weekend. I'd stay, you know, and I would, you know, fix this and you know, muck that and chop this and do all those things, because not because she couldn't do them, she's still doing them. And she's not being transhuman, you know, she's not getting the secret pill. She is just some shamanic elder, you know. She is an ascended master, you know, and she is like, you know, still around and still ascending. You know, she hasn't, you know, passed over, you know, because then she'd be more with me than what she is now. And so basically she said to me, if you don't give up, you don't give in, you keep doing what you're, you know, moving forward, being the example, then everything will work out. All things are as they should be. Now we are being just inundated with fear porn, you know, and that is, you know, our news is, you watch the news, you watch anything, and the things that are on my playlist now, they're very good. Those people, I really like them. They're doing a good job, but they're still kind of stuck in that kind. They're seeing all this stuff going, my, you know, and they've been doing it now 4, 5, 6 years, and it kind of drives them crazy, you know, and they get attacked. And you look like at Emily, and the only one that I see that is you know, truly graceful is she's energetically keeping that spirit up there. The other kids, you know, they're doing new, you know, they're fine. Mr. Fugelnuts or whatever that guy is, I really care for him, but it's like getting to him, right? And that's the thing, is that you can't let this get to you, because it's all an illusion. The only thing that's real is love's co-creation. You know, that's the only thing that's real. Everything else is an illusion. Okay. Here we go. Cloud bus. Why not cloud? Yeah. Cloud shaping. That's what I'm saying. You can make the world you want it to be. You know? It's just easier. Those clouds are kind of puffy up there. And when you can break them apart, you go, wow, I did that. Well, then you can turn them into bunny rabbits. And then you go, well, if I can turn that cloud into a bunny rabbit, you know, I can change other things, you know? Yes, everyone is capable of doing this. That's why I keep saying, guys, you got to kind of go and state yourself every day, 4 or 5 times, 10 times a day. Because, man, you do that, you can go into state. Once you do that for, you know, once you, and it's like riding a bike. You know, yes, I can guide you into a guided meditation. Yes, you can do it yourself. But if you practice it pretty regularly, every day, 4 or 5 times, then a month, you're going to be really good at this. And you're going. It's just like riding a bike. You kept falling off the bike, then you put training wheels on. I'm your training wheels. You ride around. Okay, I can do this. So you take training wheels off. You don't fall off the bike. You know. So yes, you can all do this. Pretty sure it's a very real possibility. Yes, it is. You don't have to be pretty sure it is. Not just a possibility. It is. You just keep saying that. You know, I spent one whole 48-hour period meditating, and it was summertime, and I was in Happo, North Carolina, and I was in my friend's parents' house, you know, very nice house, and I'm upstairs. You know, they had 2 boys, they had 3 bedrooms. I was like their other son. It was like, you know. Anyway, so because the place I lived was in the black neighborhood. And because I was the only white guy living in the black neighborhood, and it was on top of this great restaurant, and I would fix this lady's stuff, and she gave me this great apartment above the restaurant. It was great. I could eat this great food. Everyone ate there. The mayor ate there. The chief of police. Everybody ate there, but it was in the black section, right? And one time I was sitting at the counter. The mayor's on one side, the sheriff's on the other side, and they said, you know, we hear that are you living upstairs? I said, yeah, that's a beautiful apartment up there. You know, I'm fixing her everything, and that's it. We're trading. And the guy goes, you know, you're living in the black neighborhood. I said, so you're eating in the black neighborhood. He goes, he's trying, he like was thinking like, I said, listen, just think of it this way. I get to eat breakfast first. And he kind of laughs and shakes his head. And I get this a lot. He said, you know, Al, we love you. But if there were more of you, we'd have to kill you, you know. But because I was the only one, I could just pretend, as my grandma would say. It's a lot easier to say you're sorry than ask for permission. So, no, all of this stuff is real. You know, you can do it. Just practice makes perfect. Don't give up. Keep plugging away, you know. And how do you think I got to be where I am? Especially after dying 6 times, you know, because I knew if I, you know, went to the other side those times I died, I'd have to come back and start over again, like knock down a few notches. That the fact that I'm keeping on, my master said, yeah, keep going, buddy, keep going, you know. And so I'm going to keep going until I complete what I came here for, right? And that's really was the lesson that I was sent on this earth, that you complete what you start out. And all of you there on the chat there, all 4 of you, you need to focus on that. That, okay, I want my life to be this way. I am not going to settle for this shithole, right? I am going to get the life I want. Now, you don't do it by being mean, cruel, desperate, and, you know, any of those, you know, billionaire motifs, right? What you do is you get sweeter and nicer. You become more of who you really are and less of what the toxicity of the Luciferian illusion material world has placed on us all. And you can that's an illusion. You can sweep that off. Pity. It's like that leaf in the pine. Just let it float away. Don't, you know, all these negative thoughts can kind of twitch into your mind, and you just let them float away. Don't focus on them. Don't let them get a hold of you. Let's see. Thoughts of coming from apes, where Sasquatch fits in. Sasquatch is a crew that's in another dimension. He's not in our linear world, and Sasquatch is kind of, if you were going to be if Sasquatch was a cousin to anybody, he was of the pre-hominin guys, So Darwin's, we came from apes. Not so much, He understood that we were, somebody's chemistry project, and that they took the original DNA from, some simians. And then they twisted the DNA. They had their own CRISPR, and they kind of made us, right? And then the wars between the factions kind of came up, and they would take us and make some of us do this, just like what I was involved with at Duke in '68 when they were looking to make the super soldiers, So we have the ability, and our pineal gland and all our glands, our glandular system, and the old Crone would talk about this pretty, and she had a lot of deep books. I was part of the Theosophical Society in New York, Madame Blavatsky, you should read her book. But that's just surface kind of stuff because, she got it published and made money over it. She didn't really put her deep stuff. So that's why I joined the Theosophical Society, or at least I accepted their invitation because I had a friend who was in it, and they had a really nice farm upstate New York called Pumpkin Hollow. And I went up there, and everything didn't work. All their electrics, everything was like shot because it was like, wired in, 1911. So, I started fixing things for them, and they said, "Boy, we need you. Why don't you become part of this? Why don't you stay here? We'll help you with. We'll show you're interested in this occult stuff. We'll let you into our library. You fix you rewire our everything." And I did. And I was pretty much at the top of my skill set in my practice of healing in New York. I had my practice in New York, and they were like, "Wow, you're pretty good at that. So let us show you a little of this. What do you think of that?" And so they kind of tuned up my abilities. And one other thing I really got good with those guys was muscle testing in a shamanic sense. Right? Now, they never called it shamanism. They had other terms for it. But that's what it was. And there was a woman there who was the head person, right? And she had to be more than 100. And she was, one of Madame Blavatsky's last girlfriends. And she was still very young, so they weren't quite at that space. But she was there as, like her little niece, that she spent a lot of time with. And this woman took care of her and gave her all that kind of sweet child, innocent energy to make her feel better before she died. And so that lady, she had a lot of knowledge. She had a lot of presence. She had a lot of, and she was coming from a place of love rather than a place of power. And, Blavatsky had gone through a lot of stuff in Europe, and seen a lot of, World War I, the Russian Revolution, World War II, all those wars on 50 years on either side in Europe. Starting, before Napoleon, from Napoleon on, all that kind of stuff that happened in Europe, that was all black magic. And so this woman was, close confidant child of Madame Blavatsky. She was an old soul, so she wasn't just, and she was a teenager when this was happening, a young teenager. So she went through many ceremonies. She had been energized. She had been, And what she chose was, instead of going to that black magic scene, she went for love's co-creation scene, right? And again, she was another person who kind of reinforced that in me. Meaning, I had been, from my grandma, from my birth, I had all of these great mentors in my life who wanted me to do this, that, or the other thing. But the main thing was they wanted me to be me through love's co-creation, and then maybe I might be this, or then I might be that, But as I kept on my path, I got to a point, okay, I guess, keep going. We love you. Keep going. And so at Pumpkin Hollow, I learned a lot about the more occult things. But that was more my scholarly side. It wasn't like, oh, I want to do this. And that's kind of when I show you the 9 doors, that's, I open those doors because I can, because I learned how to do it from those guys. But the old crone, she wasn't of that ilk. So she saw all this really horrific stuff in World War I and World War II. And that's why she had that farm. And it was like in another dimension. I mean, it was there, but it was in another dimension. And once you went through that dark forest and came out the other side in her farm, the light was different. Everything was different. I mean, you could talk to the animals. It wasn't the fact that I, drank the 3rd teapot that was probably psychotropic materials. No, I was already talking to those animals, because I was feeding them and cleaning their stalls and brushing them. And they were talking to me. We were just, I wasn't hearing them like I was when I took that tea, but they were still like, when I was cleaning out their stall, they, I would take them out. They wouldn't walk away. They would just sit, stand over there. And while I'm cleaning out their stall, they're like, good human, you're being I wish I could do that, but I don't have hands, and feeding them and brushing them. And I would walk them, I would take them out to the meadow, right? And walk them. And, and that's why that blanket was in the barn, with them, because when I would walk them and I'd want to lie down or sit down, I'd put up the blanket and they would just, there were no fences. They didn't walk away or run away. They stayed around me, They would come, I would fall asleep and I'd wake up and they'd all be around me, lying down, not standing up. And that was the beauty of the old crone. Everything was in balance. Because it was just this side of that, like I'm saying, when you see the dimensions on either side, and when you look at them, when you're looking straight ahead and you see the stuff over here, and then you look at it and it's gone. Well, that was her farm. That was doing this, and there were, in that dark, deep woods, man, there was every kind of fairy and you name it, goblin. And that's when I learned that there was no good or bad, because I met things that would scare the skin right off of you. But because I, wasn't scared, because I was in this envelope of love, and they were there too. So, hey, they just look different. It's like if you were to go into a poor, bad neighborhood and you saw these black people and you were white. Oh, well, you shouldn't be. Those people are more scared of you than you are of them. So a lot of creatures in that woods. And, we would go in. She brought me in there a number of times. And just like my sensei did when I was in Vermont, we would do walking meditation. And we would walk through the woods with her, and not on a path, but just through the woods with our eyes closed. And you had to push your field out or you'd get a branch in the face, right? Or you'd walk off a cliff, right? And the guys and gals who were like so in their head, they'd get something up their, they got a branch up their nose or in their eye or fall off the cliff. And most times a sensei, if you were going to walk up a cliff, he would put it in your mind, hey, stop. Open your eyes. But if you were being a jerk, and that cliff was not really, it's only about 5-foot little ditch, he'd let you fall into it. Just to like bring you back, And that was also, like I said, we started out as 12. Very quickly, we were down to 8 because the people who thought they were better than everybody, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that, you can't talk to me that way. Who are you? You're an old man. Well, they would like walk off the cliff. And then they'd leave, Well, we're just eating the same thing all the time. Why can't we go buy food, No, you have to grow it, to eat it. You have to, be in connection with your food for it to be good for you. Oh, no, all you have to do is have the food pyramid. Anyway, so that's kind of, let's see. Yeah, I'll check the chat in a second. Here I am, checking the chat. So what? There, intellectual species residing here before Neanderthal. Well, that was, Bigfoot and guys like Bigfoot, And that, where do you think they got the idea of Wookiees in Star Wars? They look like Bigfoot to me. And, they're the pretty smart guys. They build spaceships, And see, Twitch, all of you, don't get too caught up in whatever science says it is, because science is the worst lying bag of crap there is. If you feel it, close your eyes and see what it is. And you will see the real name of the Australopithecus. That's somebody's jerk-off name for that. You'll go into state and bump into them, and they'll tell you, my name's Fred. They'll tell you what they really are. They'll show you what they really are. Everything that's ever been created, it's been created with love's co-creation. And the only way that can happen is when the truth of the matter comes through you, not through a book. Libraries, I read books all the time, but all that does is show you a couple of dots and put you in a certain direction. Then you have to go deeper into a state, Let's see, much love to Stacy. Out of here, Cadre. Have lots of art to draw. Go to it, Dragon. Send it in soon. It's done. Great love. Love you, buddy. Talk to you soon. Like I said, leave me a little Gmail and we'll talk. And anybody else, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. And if you're in America, leave me your phone number and I'll give you a buzz. Like Twitchy did that. So did Research. I talk to them every now and then. When they want me to talk, I give them a call. I know when they want to talk. Thanks for making my first time smooth. Again, Stacy, give a contact at the dude awake 42 at Gmail and go back and look at the past shows. There's more than 600 up there on the Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob channel, and they're all shamanic, meaning just watch them and you'll have the same experience, right? Because I put them in a space in time, a little bubble that you can get in that bubble and have the same experience. Let us know how it goes. Ewoks, yep. Let's see. The underground residers have been here. They're still here. The underground, everybody who is here is still here. The aliens, the extraterrestrials, they don't have spaceships. They just close their eyes, go into state. They come from trillion light years away to here, because if they had to go on a spaceship, it would take a long time. All they do is close their eyes, go into state, and bingo, they're here. And they walk around just as they are, or they can look like anything just by a thought, right? And it's not some deep black magic, and the people who, are, shapeshifters, they are really, that shape that they're shifting is not that they're extraterrestrials. We're all extraterrestrials. We're all aliens. we are coming from some other place. That's for sure. We were put in this little avatar. We are not indigenous to this planet. Now, the folks who are indigenous, first people, the Aborigines in Australia, the Kung, the Wangmajiri, the Navajo, Mohawk, Lakota, Sioux, those folks are closer to all their relations than we are. So they are more a belonger, right? So I moved to the deep green 20 years ago. I moved to here, Roanoke, 20 years ago. And I've been here 20 years. Now I come and go, but I wasn't born here, didn't go to high school here, all the rest. So in the anthropologic form, I would be called a belonger. I mean, everybody knows me here. I can walk into all the places, like this, my friend who I took for coffee and ice cream. I took her in, she's lived next to this ice cream parlor for 15 years, never went in there. I know those people because I was in there the first day they were opening their store. This didn't work, that didn't work. I said, oh, let me take that, right? So, and I've always never taken any, I do a lot of things for them. All they are is sweet to me, meaning, oh, you can, you don't have to pay. No, I can pay you the $2 for that, cup of coffee or whatever, because, they need you. They're not rich and they're providing a service. So I took her into that place and they have the best ice cream, the best soups, the best, you name it. And I took her in there and we had coffee and we sat down, and they normally want you to go up to the counter. And I mean, the one thing special other than them being sweet to me, and they're sweet to everybody, is that they kind of know what I want, right? So the woman who's, her and her husband own this place and have been running it for 18 years. Anyway, she comes over and when I come in there, I had the same, she goes, banana split? And I go, yep. And I said to my friend, so what ice cream do you want? And I said, she goes, anyway, so we shared a banana split and she had a cup of coffee. And, she knows I like whipped cream. So she kept coming over with the thing of coffee for my friend and a whipped cream for, just kept putting on the whipped cream. And she knows to, once it's getting empty, she leaves it there so I can use the last dregs and then take the nitrous up. Yes, I love. That's the one thing I still, of all of the substances that the pharmacopoeia of the universe, nitrous oxide is one of my favorite. Anyway, I didn't do it this time because it wasn't appropriate. But anyway, so my friend who was with me having coffee, she goes, these people are so nice. They know you, don't they? I go, yeah, they know me. And they treat you so nice. I said, well, I've known them. I've been knowing them since the day they opened this place, And she was like right there. And she goes, and he's always helping, right? So, and that's what our life should be about. Having those kind of relationships, not animosities, not, oh, that asshole. No, and even when people treat you that way, you don't have to treat those folks that way. You can be nice to them because then maybe they'll stop being a jerk, right? Or you can make fun of them in a fun kind of way where you're self-deprecating, right? There's a minority group of genes that keep on popping up in some of Asian population left over from older groups. Yes, right. This is very true. And there have been so many, this is like a bus station Earth. There are a lot of people crossing through, Men in Black, that scene where, their headquarters is like a bus station. There's all these people coming and going. And that's true. That's what it is. Red hair and all. Yep. Okay, 2 hours and 20 seconds. So, that's a good sign. So I'm getting tired. It's 11:22 here. And thanks for coming. That was a great chat. Go check on all the other shows that I've left on Dreamy Dreamland, right? Go look at my playlist. Get a hold of me at your the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Go look at my writings over there at xratted.blogspot.com and comment. Give me thumbs up and comment and get some more people to subscribe. It'd be fun to get to 1,000 so I could go back to doing this on the road. Because once I go out to the deep green, I'm not going to really be able to do this like I do this now. Okay, Stace. And thanks for showing up, Stacy. Bring more people to it. I keep saying you should use all of my shows in whatever way you want to copy them. I'd like them to be in more than one place, more than just in YouTube's cloud. Like I said, get a hold of me at the Dude Awake and everybody else here. The nice thing about the chorus is that we are not a tribe. We're not just one thing. Pretty much everybody's a lot of different. If you've noticed, everyone's kind of different, and that's a good thing. That's what makes this channel very vibrant and very, maybe 4 to 8 people show up every time I do this, but that's okay. There's something like people who viewed it. Yes, there's only hopefully more than 262, which is the last time I looked at our cadre. And I don't like to call you guys subscribers because you're more than that. This ain't commerce to me, right? This is family. This is clan, the clan, and not the Ku Klux Klan either. I hate it when people take really important words and trash them, right? So anyway, I'm going to say goodnight in about 20 seconds. And I love seeing you all. And Stacy, I do this every night. Sometime like tonight when I was late, I fell asleep. But I try to go on around 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, subscribe, hit that little bell, and stay in touch with the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Okay, gang. I love you guys. See you tomorrow.